Hey guys, welcome back to Blazed and Confused, and today we're going to be talking about the return of KHAMZAT CHIMAEV and 5 potential opponents he should fight next. Now, I'm a big fan of KHAMZAT CHIMAEV and what he was able to do last year. He had 2 wins in 2 weeks on Fight Island, and then was able to get a first round knockout over Gerald Mearshart, who's got the most submission wins in middleweight history, so he's already proven to be a real formidable force in the welterweight and middleweight division. So let's get straight into the top 5 opponents he should potentially fight next. So kicking off at number 5 is an opponent that he's talked about quite a lot, is Neil Magny. Now if you look at where Neil Magny is in the rankings, he's at number 8 in the welterweight division, so this would be a great return for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV to get a real credible win over a beast in Neil Magny, who's just coming off a win over Jeff Neal, who's very tough, a very dangerous striker in the welterweight division. As I say, it would put KHAMZAT CHIMAEV in the top 8 of the division, so it'd set him up for matchups like Jorge Masvidal, Michael Chiesa, Vicente Luque, so it definitely puts him in a great spot. If you look at the fight stylistically, Neil Magny is a very well-rounded fighter. He's got very good striking, very good grappling, so this would be a very good test for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. I do believe Neil Magny would test him in all aspects of MMA. I think one of KHAMZAT CHIMAEV's strong suits is his grappling and how dominant he is in his wrestling, very similar to Khabib. He just sort of moves you to the ground and gets you a deadly ground and pound, so I think this is a tough matchup for both opponents. I think he's a great fight for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV and Neil Magny. I know those guys have sort of had a bit of back and forth going on Twitter. Neil Magny was sort of going on about how he would spank KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, which is quite funny. I don't necessarily believe that. I think KHAMZAT CHIMAEV is very dominant in all aspects. His win over Gerald Mearshart, who looked quite a lot bigger than him, and he was able to sort of shut him out with one punch, is very tough. Very tough opponent for KHAMZAT, but he managed to get the win. But moving on to the next opponent he should fight next. Now this is a very fun fight. This would be a good return for KHAMZAT, is Kevin Holland. Now, as I say, stylistically, this probably does favour KHAMZAT, because if there has been a weakness in Kevin Holland's MMA game, it is his wrestling. As you showcased in the Marvin Vettori fight, as well as the Derek Brunson fight, he was able to get dominated on the ground and didn't really have too much of an answer, which is quite surprising considering Kevin Holland is actually a black belt in jiu-jitsu and was able to get a sort of a knockout on his back over Jacare Souza, who's also a very tough Brazilian. So, as I say, this is a very good fight for KHAMZAT, a very fun fight. If you look at the build-up to the fight, it'd be very funny considering how talkative Kevin Holland is and how loud, his nickname is Big Mouth, so it does sort of fit KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, who's also very vocal. If you look at his press conference with Gerald Mearshart, he was sort of picking him apart and roasting him a little bit, which is quite funny. So I think promoting this fight would be very good. I think, as I say, stylistically it definitely does favour KHAMZAT, but I think Kevin Holland, he's tall and long, so it's probably a more even matchup for KHAMZAT. I think striking wise, it's a very tough fight for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, because Kevin Holland's got very good striking. It's very precise in his shots. As soon as he lands a clean shot on you, the chances are you're more than likely going to get your lights shut out. So I think it's a very good fight for both guys. I think it's a wonderful return for KHAMZAT. If you look at where Kevin Holland is in the middleweight division, he's number 14, so it's not a huge push for KHAMZAT, just but a very nice welcome return against a very fan-friendly fighter, a fan favourite fighter in Kevin Holland. But moving on to number 3, now this is a very tough fight, but a very good fight for KHAMZAT. It's Li Jingliang. Now he's just coming off a really impressive win over Santiago Ponzinibbio. He was able to knock him out in the first round. There's a lot of hype on Santiago Ponzinibbio. He had a couple years layoff, and Li Jingliang was able to shut his lights out pretty fast. So I'd say this is another good ranking fight for KHAMZAT. It would put him into the top 10. Currently Li Jingliang is number 11, so it would sort of elevate him to get those matchups with the Jeff Neals, the Damian Myers and Neil Magny, if that fight is not to happen. But if you look at the fight stylistically, it's a very good fight for KHAMZAT. Li Jingliang is a good grappler, a good striker, so again it's a good test for him. Also Li Jingliang is very durable, very tough. He's got a lot of heart, so as I say, I do think Li Jingliang could potentially drag KHAMZAT CHIMAEV into those later rounds and really test the heart of CHIMAEV, because we haven't really seen KHAMZAT CHIMAEV's gas tank. We haven't really seen him go 3 to 5 rounds yet. All his performances have been really dominant, all first round finishes, so I say this would be a good test for the grit in KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. But moving in to number 2. Now this might be a bit of a weird one, a surprising one to you guys, but it's a fighter in the welterweight division called Sean Brady. Now Sean Brady is also undefeated like KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. He's also having a tough time getting matchups. He's also a very credible opponent. He's very well rounded, got great jiu-jitsu, great striking. So this would be another good test for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV to sort of prove his grit and his will in the welterweight division. As I say, very stylistically, very similar. Yeah, if you look at the records of Sean Brady, he hasn't got anyone too known on there. You know, he's got wins over Court McGee, Christian Aguilera and Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews was able to beat Mike Perry, so he's already sort of got some very good names on his resume. Not in the same way as KHAMZAT. KHAMZAT's got a win over Gerald Mearshot, which is probably the biggest win, but I think, as I say, it's a very tough test for both guys. Both guys are in a similar position right now. I think it would make sense, even though Sean Brady isn't again in the top 10, probably not the ranking that KHAMZAT's looking for, but I think stylistically it does make a lot of sense. Sean Brady is number 13, but I think this is a fun fight. Definitely would elevate the career of Sean Brady. If Sean Brady was able to knock or beat KHAMZAT CHIMAEV, it definitely sort of boost his social media following and get him the respect that he deserves. You know, he's also undefeated. As I say, he's got 4 submissions, 3 knockouts, so he's still relatively young in his career like KHAMZAT. As I say, it's a very fan-friendly, entertaining fight. But moving on to the number 1 pick that I'd love to see in his return is Darren Till. Now I know you guys might be thinking, well, Darren Till's just been booked up with Derek Brunson, but that's not 100% confirmed yet, I don't believe. So, you know, if you look at it, the chances for this fight to happen are still quite possible, considering the fight, you know, for Derek Brunson, it's either going to happen in August or September. I don't think the UFC has determined the date yet, but as I say, if you look at the back and forth that KHAMZAT and Darren have gone on social media, they just did the Instagram live of each other, and they were sort of roasting each other, asking each other for a fight. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in the description. It's very funny, but I think this fight has to happen at some point, just considering how their social media following, the kind of personalities that they have. They're very loudmouth, very vocal on social media, very funny. So I think this is a risky fight for Darren Till, because I do think KHAMZAT CHIMAEV is dangerous in all aspects of MMA. He's even got praise from the greatest fighter of all time in John Jones. So he's got a lot of support from other fighters, a lot of people backing him. I do think Darren Till would put up a good fight. I think it's a tough fight for KHAMZAT because Darren is very big, but I don't think it would be too much of a shock or an advantage over Darren, considering KHAMZAT has been in there with Gerald Mearshot, who's a very big middleweight. But if you look at the fight stylistically, Darren Till's got very good striking. We haven't really seen too much of his ground game. You know, Robert Whittaker was able to take him down. Tyron Woodley was able to take him down, but he hasn't really been dominated or ground and pound for too long. We haven't really seen Darren Till's jiu-jitsu or any side like that. We've just sort of seen the Muay Thai side of Darren and the kickboxing, which is very good. So I do think KHAMZAT would be a good test for Darren. As I say, a risky fight in the sense where, you know, currently Darren Till is, I believe, number 5 in the middleweight division, or number 6 even. So I think it would be a good return for KHAMZAT if he does want to get that fight with Israel or the Paulo Costas or the Whitakers, if he wants to go to the heap of the middleweight division. I know a lot of fighters might find it a bit disrespectful, considering you've got guys like Sean Strickland, got guys like Uriah Hall. Those guys are matched up, but you've got those two who are sort of 2 of the best in the middleweight division, in my opinion, and they would probably deserve a top 5 over KHAMZAT. But if you look at the career trajectory KHAMZAT's on, and the social media following that he's already nearly got 3 million followers, and he hasn't really fought anyone ranked yet. As I say, it's a big opportunity for KHAMZAT for his return. It's also a big opportunity for Darren to sort of elevate his social media presence even more and boost his following even more. I think if KHAMZAT beats Darren Till, if he can get a win like that already so early on in his career, with only being 9-0, then I think that pushes him, as I say, for that title contention. If Darren Till is able to get a win over KHAMZAT, I think if he can beat a young up-and-coming prospect, and then I definitely think that propels Darren Till into getting that title shot. So I think, as I say, it's a fun fight for each fighter. It's a fun fan-friendly fight for all of us to watch. You know, the press conference, there'd have to be a press conference going into that fight. I think it would be hilarious. But yeah, there's some great fights out there for KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. Let me know in the comment section who you think he should fight next. I know there's tons of fights that can be made with KHAMZAT. I think, as I say, a very exciting young up and coming prospect. I can't wait to see what he does for the sport of UFC. You know, it's kind of similar to Conor McGregor, how Conor McGregor was able to bring Ireland. I think KHAMZAT could do the same with Czechia. You know, we've seen Jiri Prochazka, who's also from the Czech Republic, so I think those two fighters have definitely got potential. Probably, as I say, having a tough time finding a matchup just because of how deadly they've showcased in all their fights. But I think, yeah, as I say, some great fights out there for KHAMZAT. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. I definitely will be posting videos all week long. As I say, I really want to make it up to you guys for not being as consistent with my uploads. But as I say, there's some banger videos planned. And stay blazed and peace.